Yeah.
And that's one of the most frustrating things because
Yeah.
we've got to create the procedures and policies and rule books before you've ever launched.
That's tough.
And it's a guess. So, you know, they're not going to work until you do it. So like that first set that you did prior, you got to know that this is probably going to get thrown out the window.
Okay, welcome back to Expandable, another episode. We were just talking about this and thought maybe we should jump on and record. When you think about, creating a new product or service offering inside the bank, what's your mindset around how to do that? You know, how do you vet whether this is actually going to be viable in the market, whether your customers are going to accept it and you're going to, gain new customers? I can start the conversation from my side. My side, is kind of more pluralistic, I guess, because I'm looking at a lot of different companies. I think a good way to do that is to start with your current customer base and look for current problems. So instead of just coming up with an idea and saying, oh, well, we should do this, this will be fun, right? I think a lot of small business owners do that because they get bored with what they're doing. I think that's valid. And they think, oh, this would be fun to do this. And I think our customers would like it. But I think starting with their feedback is proven over time. I mean, I had this one business mentor a long time ago, old guy, super wealthy. And he's like, tells me this story about how a guy came to him and wanted him to invest in a battery store. And he said, so what I told him to do was to go to your friends and family, go to your colleagues and peers, everyone, because the guy was in the industry. He knew the industry, which was a good start. And he said, ask everyone, if I start a battery store, will you buy batteries from me? Right. And I'm going to tell you how I'm going to lay it out and kind of give him a simple business plan.
Okay.
He went around, did that. And he came back and said, yeah, all these people said, 80% of the people I talked to said, yeah, if I start it and it looks like this, they will buy batteries from me. He's okay, then I'll invest. But he wouldn't invest until he got that feedback. And it was critical because when he opened it, he had a ton of customers, right? Right. Day one. And it's such a simple thing, but it's a very critical thing because what you don't know, you don't know. But if you know it going into it, then, there's a much better chance of it working.
And when you first said having a product, I was thinking, something completely new with an additional, customer set, which brings on different.
Well, yes, I do.
The best way for bringing on a new product services, that is the absolute, I think the best way is to go with your existing customer base and segment because they're going to give you the best feedback. And you already, in the banking world, that's a risk in its own, having history of customers.
Yes.
So now you've already got a historical customer base.
Right.
And so you're adding value to. So you've already got one set of risks that is totally, eliminated. That and a new product brings in the banking world is a whole new set of customer base, which have a completely different, they see everything in a different way. It's a different market segment. So
but I think the same thing applies. The battery story, he's starting from scratch.
Oh
but
yeah,
a new product is you're starting from scratch. It's in a lot of cases I've seen. It's almost like starting a new business when you start a new product or service offering because it doesn't have to be so different from what your other offerings are for it to be operating as a new entity because you have a new team potentially, you have new systems, you have all these things that have to support it. So I think another sort of tip that I would give is to start small. Like go for this idea of a minimal viable product. Start small. So if you have an idea, almost like a soft launch, like go to your customer base, identify the problem, get feedback, work off of that those assumptions or that actual feedback in your assumptions. And
the hard part of the banking world is there is no soft launch for anything that we offer in transaction. Yeah. So there is no soft launch.
Right.
If the product is very close and resembles the same workflow that you're already doing, then you can minimally test.
Sure.
But if it involves something completely different, another add-on, you have to do risk assessments.
Oh yeah.
And we've got this huge other layer and have to demonstrate what areas it could potentially impact and mitigate them. We have to go through every regulation that it possibly could. Is it a consumer base? Okay, let's go through every consumer law.
So you have to
hitting
do that,
everything,
even if you launch it to a small subset of your
even
base.
launch the one, and that's one of the most frustrating things because
Yeah.
we've got to create the procedures and policies and rule books before you've ever launched.
That's tough.
And it's a guess. So, you know, they're not going to work until you do it. So like that first set that you did prior, you got to know that this is probably going to get thrown out the window.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a guide, maybe not, but then you just have to follow day by day. And then immediately as you launch that, then run through all your policies and procedures live to see if it makes sense.
It shows.
And so it's structured completely different. And it's contrary to when we get audited, you know, they think that you're going to have every answer prior to the product launch, but that's the regulatory mentality.
Sure.
It's not based in real life.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you're not in banking, then just be glad that you don't have to do all this. Because basically, if you talk to any entrepreneur, they're going to tell you that's the opposite way of how
completely
you
would
take something to market. And it shows then that's a very key insight.
So, I mean, there's been times that the products to even test it, it's like, no, I'm going to set up a dummy account and then just use our money, throwing $100 in that account and testing it on our own and set up. That's the only way to be able to test something before. But if you offer it to a customer in every regulation and law, you'll get your lunch eaten.
It is a great insight into why banks haven't innovated.
Oh yeah,
you know, and then the culture is a part of it, a big part of it. But this
culture's huge part.
Culture.
Yeah, but outside of culture, you know, culture of being, I don't know. I mean, you probably see the culture. It's hard for me to see the culture as much from being within, but you know, from an outsider, I'm sure you see it's stodgy, slow to market. Yeah, we're forced to be slow to market because of regulatory.
So you have to get really creative to actually act on opportunities. You know?
Oh yeah, you already need to have a lot of your potential risk assessments, you know, done.
Yeah.
So, you know, if it is a consumer product, okay, great. You already have the regulations that are going to apply, and you're already going to know where the pain points are.
And then what's that cycle? So like, let's say you and your board come up with this idea, want to do this thing, you know, however you come to the idea. And then you have to go through this whole cycle of regulatory compliance in order to launch that thing to validate.
Oh yeah, and if it's a new product,
is that like a 90-day cycle or 9 years?
They want to see, you know, if it was up to them, they would want to see a year cycle of this on something that is that in the fintech world would laugh at. And it's like, I could create that with ChatGPT and coding in 15, 20 days.
Yeah.
No, they want you to have an idea. In their world, you have an idea, and then you go hire a consultant to plan that idea and to come back and present that to the board and then ask to go to the restroom and wipe your ass. You know, it is ridiculous. It is so bad. And so that really gets that level. So I have to do that when they're launched, but as much as you can go through that thought process ahead of time to where the constraints, because it really, you know, I'll have 100 ideas, but only one really even makes it to that level of, all right, here, let's do the risk assessment. Have somebody else do the risk assessment to make sure, you know, so checks and balances.
Internally, you have to go through a lot of iterating on just the idea front and research front to try to get to the point where you think, when we go through all of this, the likelihood of this working has got to be really high. So you can't test out in the market like another company could.
Not at all. No.
Yeah.
No.
So for all the other companies out there, be grateful that you can use ChatGPT and in 15 minutes vet your idea.
Oh yeah.
But you know, but I think for the rest,
I mean, and there's a lot of things. I mean, if you want to, you know, offer a product and it's somebody's money, you better be pretty vetted.
Sure.
So I mean, but you
which
know,
we're seeing
there's
that with
there is a realization that it is kind of like, it is one thing which you could do it with a handful of people that if I mean, mistakes happen.
Yeah.
That you were going to cover 100%. That if you were completely liable for every dollar that went through, you cover 100% of it.
Yeah.
You know, if you could do small mistakes. And to me, that would be a better way. All right, we're going to launch this product, but we're only going to allow 10 people on. They're only at risk X amount of dollars, as opposed to spending all of this money there. Just, nope, we're going to cover, indemnify, whatever, you know, this product set this until we figure, okay, this works, and then build back to it.
Yeah.
You know, I would love for it to work that way.
Sure. Well, okay. That's good. I mean, it's so interesting to see the dichotomy between what most companies can do, and honestly, a lot of them don't, because they just don't take the risk. When if they knew that, banks have such trouble innovating because of the regulatory environment, they might have a different perspective on that risk.
Yeah, and what's so asinine about it too is you know, it's been easier for banks to hire a third party to say, I've created all this product, I ought to do this. Here's all of our manuals and everything. Oh, okay, let's take that.
Yeah.
You know, and regulators wouldn't look 2 steps. They couldn't. And then,
oh, really?
They'd need to be so hard.
Scratch.
Yeah, or the bank would be like, well, it's not our issue, it's theirs. They created the financial product. We're just giving them the rails for the financial product.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what has created this fintech and banking as a service, fiasco.
For better or worse, too, because you see that they're able to innovate and be nimble, and some are good, but then a lot of them aren't. And you see the negative to it. So, you kind of do look back at the, with a different perspective on the regulatory environment you have and think, well, it's definitely holding me back from innovating the way I want to, but it's also a good thing.
There's a portion of it that is good.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah.
Okay. So then let's leave this with, since you're in such a highly regulated environment and don't have the ability to innovate like other companies do, what would you tell other companies? What would you give them as wisdom to say, like, if I could be in your shoes, here's how I would do it?
Oh, I mean, to launch a new product. Oh, absolutely. If you've already got a good customer base.
It's like the cuffs come off and you just.
I mean, you already have a customer base.
Yeah.
It is talking to them, and things I think naturally will come about depending on what you're selling them.
Yeah.
People do tell you their pain points.
Yeah. You have to be tuned into it.
And so over time, a lot of those will reveal themselves to pain points, and you think to yourself, is that something that is already instilled in my manufacturing process?
Yeah.
Is that something that they are not getting delivered on? I'm already sending a runner there once a week. If I could deliver something else that I could hold an inventory for them, great. I got to add on, look at your existing customer base, test that product. If it works and can have that margin on one customer, 2 customers, then great.
Yeah.
Then grow it.
I think that the trick there is for business owners to be able to see what their customers are really telling them and not see what they want to see. So just a quick story. This last week, we watched the movie Sixth Sense again, and because my son had never seen it. And we're like, all right, we got some hits, you're old enough now. Like, we'll show you some of these movies that are like banger movies that we just forget about, because when it came out, it blew your mind. When you saw that movie, you're just like, wow, I did not see that coming. But now we're watching it again, knowing the end. It's kind of cool to watch. And the key to that, of course, spoiler alert for anybody who's never seen that movie, if you haven't, go watch it, is people only see what, like, basically was saying that, dead people, they only see what they want to see. So it was the loophole in which they could even make the movie. Yeah. Because he didn't see the reality that he was dead the whole time. And I just think that's exactly how we go about our days. Like, I look at so many companies that they're just going along and they're not aware of what the customer's really saying. The customer's really saying something that is very, very impactful that you can take and help them more, or generate a new product or offering or something. It may not be something totally big. It may just be a small tweak and, it's more efficient or whatever. And I think we just choose to see what we want to see.
Yeah.
And that's not good. Okay.
All right. Have a good one.
On the next one.